Fantastic. So we're live and we've got Jud Riviere. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yep, perfect. Awesome.
Fantastic. On with us, Jud, welcome to the Guitarbench interview.
All right. Thanks for having me, Terrence.
Awesome, great. Well, let's dive straight in and ask how you got started with guitars.
When did I or how did I?
How? I think it's how. Well, how and when.
So the route I went was I went to a luthier school in Red Wing, Minnesota, and I chose that route honestly after I looked up their course curriculum, and I actually found out about the school because of a guitar builder in Switzerland. It's an electric builder who I really liked his work, and I was reading his bio one day, and he mentions going to this school that's 4 hours from where I grew up. So it was really bizarre reading that because I just didn't assume like the Midwest USA is where this amazing builder from Switzerland went to go to school, but lo and behold, that's where he went. So I found about Red Wing and I looked up the curriculum, and it just pretty much had me hooked. And I think too, at that point in my life, it was probably an easier sell to my parents, honestly, of, like, no, I'm going to go to school for this. And so Red Wing is really where I got my start. And I'm really glad I did that too, because it was a great place to kind of get a really fundamental understanding of going through things just like sharpening tools, and kind of really just establishing those basics that I think everyone kind of needs to build a foundation on.
Mm-hmm. Cool, awesome. And I know, we know, everybody's shouting it. I guess you were apprenticed to Jason Costal.
Yes, yeah.
And how did that go? I mean, how did it get started, and and what was the process like?
Yeah, how does it's interesting. So after school at Red Wing, I had been working in a repair shop because I felt like repairs at that time, it was just something I felt like I needed to invest X amount of time into, because a lot of my favorite builders had talked about how repair work had been really valuable for them, for kind of evaluating instruments, learning where they fail, seeing why some instruments, there's value and you get a great instrument across your bench and you just stick a mirror and you can look inside and see what's going on. So I was doing repair work for a certain amount of time, and in that shop I was also able to build, but the building was a lot more ancillary, and it was more kind of on weekends, after hours type projects. And I knew I really wanted to focus more on just building. Like, I want to spend my time just really diving deep into just that, just building. And I knew my leanings, I kind of landed where a more contemporary, I guess you could say, finger style voicing, I knew that was something I wanted to learn more about. And so that kind of is what led me to wanting to pursue something like an apprenticeship. And so when deciding who to contact, who to work for, Jason was just someone I loved and admired his work. I'd listened to interviews with him, and I felt like he was someone we could have a good working relationship just between personalities, which is a huge thing. And then two, I also know he has an MBA. He's a really, the way he runs his business is something that I really admired and I wanted to learn from or learn about. So that's what kind of led me to wanting to contact Jason. So I sent Jason seriously just like a cold call, just like an email, kind of inquiring. And it's sort of from there where we just started to talk about what an apprenticeship would look like.
Sorry, I was muted. That's on me.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah. And so, could you maybe just talk us through, that the whole experience of the actual apprenticeship and, and what you're up to now?
Yeah, absolutely. So the apprenticeship, one of the great things about the apprenticeship was, um, Jason really was just open with everything. I could walk in any day and ask him a question about anything, whether it's a building question, what would you do in this type of situation question, literally anything you could imagine. And he would give me his honest opinion and thoughts. And it was really valuable to have kind of dialogues and questions go back and forth with him on just really whatever I might be curious about. In terms of the actual kind of nitty gritty and day-to-day stuff, we focused on building, and really our apprenticeship was focused on him teaching me how he builds his instruments and kind of working my way through the guitar. So like the first day I came in, it was just tops. And it's like, all right, here's a stack of tops. Here's how I join them. Sound good. He'd evaluate my work and kind of, tell me, yeah, that looks great. Pay attention to this. So we would just do that, but we would do that with every part of the build. So it started out with tops. Then eventually it was like rosettes, then bracing. Then it was making rim sets. And all while doing that, we're just kind of kept going through the process of building guitars, and we just kind of kept on adding more and more to it, of him kind of working me through how he builds. So that was sort of, I would say, to summarize it, that was sort of the approach we took. And then we reached a point where he said, all right, now I want you to make your own guitar. And that was sort of the later half, or the last 6 months starting this January. That's sort of when that started, that shift.
Mhm. Cool. And now you're out independently?
Yes. Yeah. So I just recently moved with my wife, Claire, to Asheville, North Carolina, from Phoenix. So yeah, right now it's like gung ho, setting up shop, building it out, building all the jigs, fixtures, just getting tools in there. So that's where I'm at right now. I expect the next couple months is just going to be focused on that, and really kind of dialing in each process, making sure everything's where I want it, etc. So that's where I'm at right now, and I'm really excited to just be working on guitars again soon, and getting more Rivieres out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. And I guess now is the time to ask about your build philosophy, right?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Could you sort of talk us through how you like to build your guitars, and how you like to kind of modify them maybe for an order?
Yeah. Yeah. So I would say at the heart of my build philosophy is really, I've come across certain instruments and guitars that for me, visually, sonically, and then how they play, it really was an exciting experience that made a lasting impression on me. And it really was, it's that moment when you sit down and you play guitar and you just strum a chord, and it's like it sends shivers down your spine. And so that's at the heart of it for me, what I've been trying to do is figure out, why do I have that reaction to those guitars? Like what is technically happening there, in terms of the sound. Okay, it sounds great, but it's like, go further. Is it the way the back is pumping? Is it something you feel? Is it the way it responds to how you fret up the neck? Is it, and it's just trying to dig into all those little details of every part of why, like, why does this excite me? And I just like can't wait to pick it up and play this guitar, and this one doesn't. And so I've been trying to just reverse engineer almost and really figure out from all the different instruments that have really made a lasting impression on me of why. And so I would say then it's more on a technical level, trying to figure out, you know, visually, like I found out, this is an example. I found out I really love like 10 thou maple purfling lines. There's something about like they're so thin, but so it gives us sort of crispness, and because it's wood material, it has chatoyancy, and sometimes you get fleck and very big. So it's just, that's an example of something I figured out of like, oh, I love how that looks. And when I use that in different places and in different ways, to my eye, it looks really good and exciting. And I've just tried to apply that throughout the different parts of the build. I think sonically, I really value an instrument that's versatile. I've come across guitars that it honestly shocked me how well they could strum, but you could finger pick lightly and it still was really musical and pleasing. And so those are the kinds of things I've tried to figure out on a technical level in terms of, you know, what woods are they using? How is it braced? What glues did they use? How did they voice it? To try and figure out what's actually going on here. So I would say my guitars just represent, to me, really what I think an exciting guitar is.
Cool, awesome. And I know we've all seen photos of that great Koa guitar that
Yes,
that are
yeah.
circulating around. You know, I guess in terms of tone woods, what do you yourself kind of prefer?
You know, it's interesting. I for a long time viewed myself as more of a person in the rosewood camp, and I
Mhm,
still love the rosewoods.
mhm.
Mm, I mean, good heavens, an amazing piece of Brazilian is one of the best things anyone can build with. That said, though, I've actually learned I really like a lot of the woods that are lighter in weight, like mahogany. The woods that are less dense, I've actually found I really gravitate towards those quite a bit as well. I kind of like the effect they have on the sound in terms of um, the dampening and the effect that kind of how it affects the sustain. And yeah, so I don't know. I've kind of mahogany, honestly, and like even like Koas or maples, they've gone up on my kind of tier of woods. But again, a really good rose, even Indian rosewood is like a really good set of East Indian. I I love it. I think it smells great. It looks great. It has really great mechanical properties for you know, acoustic instruments. Um, so I don't know if one really sticks above the rest for me. I you know, we talked about the Koa. I love how Koa looks. That's one of my, in terms of aesthetics, I love Koa.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, in terms of sound, I've kind of come to appreciate what sort of the different you know, your denser woods, your less dense, what they can kind of bring to an instrument.
Great. And how about topwoods?
Yeah. I would say for top woods, I'm mainly sticking to spruce at the moment. That said, I mean, it's pretty incredible seeing what other builders have done out there. And I remember actually at Jason's, we made one guitar with, I believe it was Sinker Redwood. And I loved how that guitar turned out. So generally, you know, at Jason's, for example, we mainly worked with German spruce. And so that's a spruce I feel really comfortable and familiar with. And that I feel like a good set of German spruce has the tonal potential that I'm kind of looking for when evaluating a wood. So I honestly, I would say German spruce is probably one of my favorites. I also really like Italian. That's what the Koa OM was built with, which I know too. I mean, I view it honestly too as sort of the European alpine spruces, because too, I know sometimes they might say the country, they might say it's from Italy or Germany, but that's obviously not always the truth. But yeah, so I really like the European spruces.
Cool, awesome. And here's a little bit of maybe a more in-depth question. So for brace stock, do you just stick to one type of brace stock, or do you like to vary it?
You know, it's interesting. In terms of brace stock, I would say I generally how I approach it is I try to, I mean, I remembered, I'll talk about the Koa guitar because we mentioned it earlier, but I bought a bunch of brace stock, and I remember I just literally laid it all out, and I found pieces that I thought would be suitable for the different parts of the top bracing and back bracing, and I cut those up into braces. And after I did that, I then kind of evaluated them further in terms of like stiffness testing, measuring their weight, and it's more just to see kind of the mechanical properties of I feel like through you can shift based on how you shape them and, you know, the heights, but you kind of are, I'm looking for certain properties as a starting point, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that and typically I'm using, like on top woods, I'm using Sitka spruce for brace stock.
Great. Yeah, awesome. Well, I guess time is kind of coming on just a little bit, so maybe we can just close up by, you know, just asking you what's next on the horizon for you.
Yeah, so like I said earlier, probably or definitely just building out the shop. But then I have some really exciting builds coming up. One is a Cocobolo guitar that I'm really excited. So yeah, it's gonna be, I have some new rosette ideas that I'm kind of excited to experiment with and try and get those out there. So yeah, I think right now my shift is marathon ahead to being able to get back to building guitars.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We'll have to organize a time so that you can show us your new workshop when it's up, and, you know, the various builds.
Definitely. I would love that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time, and we'll catch up soon.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks for having me, Terrence.
Pleasure. Thank you very much.